Hi, everybody. I'm Peter Sciarra, aka Stations Guy, and my guest on today's show is a little bit of a departure from what I normally do. If you've seen any of my shows, you know that I typically focus on music, vintage audio gear, that kind of thing. But on today's show, my guest is a flashlight. Yes, this is the SK05 Pro by a company called Loop Gear, made in China, naturally. Sells for around, give or take, $120 if it's on sale, roughly. You can buy it from Loop Gear directly or from Amazon. I got this from Loop Gear. There's also a non-pro version, which has some differences, which you can read about on their website. But, I mean, for the difference, you might as well get the pro version. But there were two important things I encountered when I got this that I wanted to advise you about or warn you about, so you would be aware of it before you bought yours. The first and most important is, and I don't think I've heard this on any other video. I've seen a lot. I can't say I've seen every video on this, but I've seen a lot of them. And when I do my videos, regardless of what the subject matter is, I try and bring out something new, something different. And so the one most important thing about this is when I got it in, it didn't work. I couldn't charge it. I couldn't use the flash. Nothing worked on it. And I had read some reviews on Amazon where people had a similar experience where theirs just didn't work. And I thought, well, maybe they had a bad batch and they've worked through them and they figure out the problem and they fix them by now. But when I get mine in, it was basically dead. So I messaged the company. Well, I delayed. I put it aside, waited a few weeks, tried it again, still the same thing, waited a few more weeks, finally messaged them through their contact form on their website, said I'd like to do a return, and got no response after several days. So then I found their email address. I emailed them, and again, a couple days went by, but I did hear back from someone, and the message was, how can we help you? Well, this drives me nuts when you write an email to somebody and they don't read it, and then you have to go through it all over again. So I responded back, please read my email. It said I want to do a return. So they came back again and said, well, what's the problem? And I said, it doesn't work. And I had another complaint too, which I'll get into in a minute, but the main thing was it didn't work. So he came back and said, well, you're beyond your 30-day return window. And I said, well, excuse me, but I did message you through your website and nobody ever responded, and that was days ago. And then, this back and forth has taken days as well. So finally they came back and said, okay, fine, we'll give you your refund and, keep the unit. And I said, okay, thank you. It's very good customer service. I appreciate that. But then I got to looking at this, I'm like, gee, it's a shame just to throw this in the trash or to donate it to Salvation Army or Goodwill, and someone's going to get it and they're not going to be able to use it. So, can I salvage something out of this? Maybe I can take the batteries out and put it maybe in a fast charger, try and revive the batteries in some way and use it in something else, or maybe it'll work a little bit in this or something. So this does have replaceable batteries, which is excellent. I give them 5 stars for that. It's fantastic. I can't tell you how many devices I have with a built-in battery that they're not user replaceable. You just throw it in the trash. The battery's not going to last forever. At some point, it's not going to be able to hold a charge and work very well. So that's not good for the environment. It's not good for your wallet to just throw something away. So the fact that these cells, which, by the way, let me refer to my notes, they're two 18650 cells, 4,000 milliamp each. The fact that they're replaceable is great. So congratulations to Loop Gear for doing that. But anyway, so I popped open the battery compartment to get the batteries out. And lo and behold, look at that. I don't know what you call these. Condoms? Do you call them protective strips? I don't know what the official name is for them. But the point is they prevent the batteries from making contact with the battery contacts, I guess, so that if a button is pressed or something by mistake, it doesn't drain the batteries. Or maybe it's required for safety reasons because these get shipped on a ship from China, or maybe on an airplane if it's like urgent and they need them right away. And there are rules and things regarding shipping things with rechargeable lithium-ion batteries. So maybe it's required from a safety standpoint. I don't know. But this is why I couldn't charge it and it wouldn't work. Yet, I've been through this owner's manual cover to cover. I don't see anything about that on here. Nothing on the box anywhere, no insert or anything, and nothing on their website. And nothing from Amazon comments about this. And nothing in their email to me about it. When I said it doesn't work, they didn't come back and say, well, did you take these strips out? So I took them out, which they just slip right out. And now, after that, I was able to charge it, fully charge it, and use it. So that's important information, number one, that you may not find elsewhere. Take those strips out once you get it in the mail. Now, maybe I'm an idiot. Maybe it's just something I should have thought of. But if so, I'm not the only idiot, because in that case, there are lots of idiots on Amazon who also, I think, had the problem. So, excuse me. So anyway, that's important point number one. Important point number two, which concerned me before I bought it, was this is made out of aluminum. It's an aluminum housing, or as our friends across the pond say, aluminium. And it's very slippery. There are these sort of like finger grooves here. And it is sort of palm-sized, so, it fits in your hand nicely, but this is really smooth and slippery. I was hoping that maybe these black pieces were rubberized, but they're not. It's all anodized aluminum, and it's very slippery. And most people use flashlights, outdoors. Maybe use it inside if you lose power or you're in your attic or your basement and the lighting isn't very good. But for the most part, I think most people use these outside. It might be raining out. That's going to get it wet. You might just have a lot of finger oil on your fingers. That's going to make it slippery. Maybe you're perspiring. That'll make it slippery. So you just got to be careful, and you got to be mindful of it. Make sure you got a nice, good grip on it, which you can, because it's, like I say, it's palm-sized. It's a good size. But why they didn't include like a silicone skin for it, I don't understand. And this is the problem when you get a few people in a room doing product development, working basically in a vacuum. They don't think of these things. And to me, it's obvious. Now, I was a product manager for over 20 years, so this was just something that I thought of even before I bought it. Now, they do include a clip that you can screw in here. It's basically like a belt clip, and I think I'm going to put that on here and see, maybe that'll help me get a bit of a better grip on it. I'm not sure. We'll see. But anyway, be aware of those two things before you buy it, just so you're aware of it. The main thing you probably want to know is, how is the brightness? How is the illumination? So I did a sort of real-world test. I went outside in the dark and used it. There's two different lights here. There's just your sort of standard flashlight, and then there's a spotlight, which is a much wider angle, gives you broader coverage. So I went outside, and I used these, both of them. I'm not going to get into lumens and all of that stuff. Who cares? You just want to see how it works, and does it work well. If you really need the specs, you're going to look at other videos on this product. I'm sure they'll have it. It's on their website. My concern was, how well does this thing light up the environment? So I'm going to play some videos for you now of my basic testing, and then I'll come back and talk a bit more about this product. Roll it. So I'm outside here, and my camera is old, so it's not the greatest when it comes to recording at night. I do have some solar lights, garden lights and things, but also in other areas it's fairly pitch dark. So I'm just going to do kind of a quick demonstration here of this flashlight. And let's see, so the first will be, this is the flashlight, I guess you call it the spotlight, and this is the low level, and it's pretty decent. I mean, it's definitely got some throw and some distance. I mean, it's pretty darn good for a flashlight, and this is low. Now let's go to high. So that's the higher level beam, and again, quite, more than adequate, really. It's quite good. Now I'm going to flip over to the floodlight. So this is the floodlight. on low, and not much going on there. It's a wider beam, wider angled beam, so you're spreading the light out more, so it's not, quite as effective. Now we'll go to the higher setting of the floodlight, and that's quite impressive. It's definitely a larger angle, very bright, nice, doing a very nice job. Shut that off. And now you can have both on at the same time. Let's see. Oh, I know. Press and hold. So that is both the flashlight and the floodlight on together. So, maximum intensity. And once again, fairly quite effective. This is giving you some very good distance here, I think. For most applications, it's pretty good. And now what I'm going to do is be on the receiving end of the flashlight, which is, this is just the way my brain works. I thought, I wonder, how blinding is this going to be? So I've got the floodlight on now, not the spotlight or the flashlight, but the floodlight is on, and it's on high. So if I walk now in front of it, if you look at the beam, it's very, very bright, and you kind of get that residual effect, like when a flash from a camera goes off in your face and you kind of see the bright lights after a few seconds afterwards. That's what it is. So if you're using this almost like from a security standpoint, and you're flashing it in someone's face and someone's eyes, it's going to be blinding. It's going to be difficult for them to see. They're going to look away. So it's very effective in that respect as well. So, as you could see, I was very impressed with the way it worked. It worked very, very well, in my opinion. So I think for most applications, you'd be pleased with the performance of the SK05 Pro. Some other features I'll get into. This bottom piece here is magnetic. So let's say you're off to the side of the road with your car, you've got the hood up or the bonnet, and you can stick this to the roof of it and give you some work light illumination or whatever. Stick it, if there's a metal wall or something in your workshop, you can stick it this way and get some illumination hands-free. So that's a nice feature. It also has this port here, which is covered by a rubber plug. It's a USB-C port, and this is how you charge the light. It comes with a USB-C cable. Not the easiest thing to open here, as you can see. Of course, I don't have much for fingernails, but anyway, well, you get the idea. You flip this open, plug in the USB-C cable, you can charge this, but you can also use it as a charger, as an 8,000 milliamp power bank. So if you want to charge your smartphone and you're not near an outlet or something, you're camping or you're hiking or whatever you're doing, you can plug into this and charge your phone. In terms of charging, it took me, I fully discharged the battery as much as I could anyway, and so from discharge to fully charged was around, give or take, 3 hours and 15 minutes, 315, roughly, which isn't too bad. And in terms of sort of quote-unquote playback time, if you will, on the floodlight, the wide beam one, on high level, I got under 3 hours, around 2 hours and 45 minutes, somewhere in there. I wasn't watching the clock exactly, but that's a decent amount of time, and that's continuous. That's putting it on and leaving it on. So that's not bad. As I mentioned, the two cells in here are replaceable, which is fantastic. This supposedly can survive a drop from 3 feet. It supposedly can withstand temperatures below 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'm going to do a little temperature test and as well as a water test shortly. This has an IP68 rating, meaning the 6 means it's dustproof. The 8 means it's waterproof, up to 1.5 meters being submerged for anywhere between a half an hour and an hour. And I'll be doing a test on that also, neither of which have I seen on any of the videos that I've watched on this product. So stay tuned for that. We'll be doing that shortly. The throw on this is, they say, 1,328 feet. I didn't measure it, but it's definitely got good range to it for sure. Again, I think for most applications, it's more than adequate. One thing I'm surprised that this doesn't have is a built-in opening, a built-in loop to clip on so you can hang it on, hang it from your tent, hang it from a backpack, hang it on your belt. I mean, the company's name is Loop Gear. Hello, you'd think they'd have a built-in loop on this. Yes, as I said, they do give you a belt clip to put on here that screws in, but why not just have an integrated opening that you can clip onto? That just, once again, along with the silicone wrap, you'd think it just, would be part of it. The other thing that kind of drives me a little crazy, and maybe I'm all alone on an island on this, I don't know how you feel, but it's a Chinese company. They have a website in English, but it's more like in Chinglish, if you know what I mean. It's not the greatest English, and this drives me nuts when I see websites like this. It's like, really? You can't take the time to get somebody who knows English to go in and clean up your website? You have that lack of respect for your English-speaking customers, and you're that cheap and lazy? I mean, come on, guys. It doesn't reflect well on your company. It's not very professional. And this is something I've done. I work with a company. Actually, it was an Italian company, not Chinese, but they had a website in English, and they had a brochure and some other things in English, but their first language was Italian. So it wasn't the greatest English, and they hired me to go in and clean things up, which I did. My English is not perfect, I'll be the first to tell you, but it's better than English as a second language, Chinglish. So, by the way, Loop Gear, if you're interested, I'm available. But it's like, if you're going to have a professional-looking website, which Loop Gears is, it's a great website, great high-quality pictures, great information, but the English is not very good. And, just take the time and make the investment to make it professional. That's my feeling. This will get a little warm to the touch, presumably because of the LEDs. This is aluminum, as I said, so that's going to conduct the heat, but not to the point where it's like, oh, you want to drop it or not touch it, it's going to burn you or something. It doesn't get that hot, but it does get warm. It gets a little warm when you're charging it as well. Again, I don't think it's anything to be concerned about. This is the box that it came in. It's got a nice little magnetic flip opening here. This is the user manual, which for me, I have glasses, but I still can't see all that great, especially if it's tiny print, and this is really small print. This is another thing that I don't understand why people do this, why companies do this. They make the manual in such tiny print. This is difficult for me to see, but I did try to go through it best I could. Then there's this little kind of accessory box thing, which has the USB-C cable and this belt clip with tiny screws and a tiny screwdriver. So it's good. I'm glad that they included that. They do sell something online separately, a clip, but it's good that they give you this stuff with it. Although the USB-C cable, it looks pretty short, which seems to be standard procedure these days, giving you like the shortest cable possible, but at least they give it to you. But, regarding the issue with those little strips in the battery compartment, had it been me, not only would I have put it in the manual, but since the manual is kind of useless because you can't read the tiny print, I would have put in a nice big insert sheet that covered this, that was the size of this box, that said, attention, remove these from the battery compartment. That's just me. I mean, what can I say? So now what I'm going to do is roll the video of this light in water and taking it out of the water and checking how well it works. So let's roll that. And here we are outside now, and we have here just an ordinary plastic mixing bowl, a small mixing bowl with some water in it and the flashlight in the bottom. There's maybe, I'm not sure, maybe 5 inches of water, 4 inches. This flashlight has a rating of IP68. The 6 means it's dust proof. The 8 means it can be submerged down to 1.5 meters for between 30 minutes and an hour. Like I said, this is not 1.5 meters. It's just like maybe 5 inches, 4 inches. And it's been in here for around 35 minutes, give or take. So I think that's a pretty good test. So I'm going to take it out now, put it on this towel and dry it off before I try and use it, because it's already slippery as it is. I don't want it even more slippery. So we'll take it out here and move this bowl out of the way and just kind of dry this off. So the first thing I'll do, whoops, didn't mean to turn that on, is look inside behind the lenses here to see if I see any water at all, which I don't. It looks perfectly dry. Next thing I'm going to do is see if it works. Flip it on to the flashlight mode. Yes. So that's fine, and then we'll go to the spotlight, the wide angle floodlight. And that's fine. And then we'll go to the side light here, which we didn't really talk about. Side light works. And lastly, I just want to check inside the battery compartment and see what that looks like. It's going to be tough to do, to hold the camera and do this at the same time, but let's give it a shot. So we'll pop this open, and the batteries and the connectors look bone dry. I don't see any hint of water anywhere there. So very, very impressive. The next test I'm going to do is just a basic temperature test. I'm going to put this in the freezer in an ice bucket, and then I will leave it in there for maybe an hour or two, and then take it out, and we'll talk about that. So we'll roll that video now, if you please. And now we're going to do the cold test. So I've had the SK05 Pro in my freezer for almost 3 hours at 33 degrees. And this is it in the bucket o' ice here. Stuck to it. Okay, not sure why there's ice stuck to it, but anyway. The main thing is, does it work? So let's see, flashlight. Well, the side light works. And the button's actually frozen. So I can't test if oh, there we go. Okay. So it works. It's a little bit difficult to use that top button. It looks like it's frozen, but other than that, it's working. So I've seen some, like television commercials where they'll take a flashlight or whatever device they're trying to sell you, and they will encase it in ice and then break it apart with a hammer. The ice, I mean, not the device. I didn't want to do that because this is only supposed to be in water for between a half an hour and an hour at the most. And if I were to put this in a bucket of water and freeze it, it would probably take 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 hours. And I didn't want it in water for any more than what it's specified for. So I didn't do that. But this is the next best thing. Besides that, I don't know how many cases you're going to have where your flashlight's going to be completely encased in ice, unless you get caught in the ice age when you're camping. So that's that is the cold test. What I meant to do earlier, and I'll play it now, I meant to show you the various charging stages. So the first is when the battery gets really, really low, like almost dead, you will get a flashing red light to let you know that you need to plug it in and charge it right away. And then once you're charging it, you will get a cycling red light to show that it's charging and that it's at a low status at that moment. And then after around 20 or 30% of a charge, the red light changes to a kind of, I don't know, violet or light purple cycling light to let you know that, there's at least a minimum charge there if you want to do something with it, but it's on its way to a full charge. So that's what I wanted to show you there. So that's it for this video. I hope you found it helpful, and I will be returning. My next video probably will be back to the usual fare of music and vintage audio. So please leave some positive comments, subscribe if you haven't yet, and share. And most importantly, be kind to each other. And we will see you next time.